The corridors of the European Council glowed with cold white light. Leaders moved in silence, faces drawn, papers clutched tight. Inside the main chamber, the air was heavier than usual. The question on the table was not just money, it was Europe's soul. Ursula von der Leyen leaned forward. Colleagues, this loan is not charity, it's survival. Ukraine stands because we stand behind it. Charles Michel adjusted his earpiece. The mechanism is legal. The assets are frozen, not seized. We use the profits as collateral. We send a message to Moscow. At the far end of the table, Belgium's Prime Minister Alexander De Croo shook his head slowly. Message or not, this plan turns Brussels into a battlefield of lawyers. Euroclear is on Belgian soil. If Russia retaliates, our banks pay the price, Olaf Scholz murmured. We all pay the price if Kiev falls. De Croo's tone hardened. And we all collapse if confidence in Euroclear evaporates. Do you realize the trillions it handles? One move too bold, and markets tremble. Emmanuel Macron leaned back, voice low. Alexander, you sound as if you fear Moscow more than you trust Europe. De Croo's eyes flared. I fear economic chaos. You can't build solidarity on financial quicksand across the line, Giorgia Meloni whispered to an aide. He's right about one thing. If the assets vanish, the EU's credibility dies with them. Zelensky's video feed flickered onto the giant screen. His voice filled the room. While you debate, men die. While you weigh interest rates, cities burn. Europe's strength is measured in action, not excuses. The chamber fell silent. Only the translator's murmurs filled the gaps. Ursula clasped her hands. We understand your pain, Volodymyr. But we must move as one. Zelensky's reply came cold and heavy. Then move. Because every hour you hesitate, Moscow grows stronger. Somewhere behind the closed doors, aides whispered. A draft communiqué was circulating, words shifting, clauses deleted, numbers bracketed, the word approval replaced with consideration. Macron slammed his pen on the table. We can't leave here with another statement of intent. Either we fund Ukraine or we admit we're powerless. Hungary's Orban smirked. Then admit it. All eyes turned to him. Orban continued, you froze Russia's money thinking you'd never need to touch it. Now you're desperate. If this is how Europe finances its wars, count Hungary out. The silence broke like glass. Voices rose. Translators shouted. Scholz's voice cut through. Enough! You're playing Moscow's game. Orban laughed. No, Olaf! I'm playing Hungary's. De Croo stood. If you push this through against our legal advice, Belgium will not sign. Euroclear will not be the gun barrel for your moral crusade. Ursula's calm cracked for a second. Are you threatening the Union? De Croo, I'm protecting it. The meeting adjourned in chaos. Doors slammed, aides rushed, phones rang across Brussels. Outside, journalists gathered, cameras ready, rumours flying, EU divided, loan frozen, summit collapses. Inside a quiet corridor, a message buzzed on De Croo's secure phone. Moscow appreciates your caution. He stared at the screen, heartbeat quickening. A chill ran through him. Moments later in Kiev, Zelensky's advisors watched the same headlines roll in. One whispered, they've failed us again. Zelensky looked out at the dark horizon. Not yet, he said softly, but the cracks are widening. Somewhere in Moscow, a glass of vodka was raised. A smile spread across a shadowed face. Europe's unity, the voice said, is worth less than its frozen gold. The night in Brussels deepened. The loan was still on paper, but the silence that followed felt like the prelude to something far greater. Dawn spread across Brussels, grey and cold. The summit room still smelled of stale coffee and anger. Security guards stood by the doors as if guarding a crime scene. Ursula entered first, her eyes sleepless. We can't let last night define this union, she said quietly to her aides. Call Paris, Berlin. We need alignment before markets open. Macron arrived moments later, scarf tight around his neck. Alexander humiliated us, he muttered. He made Europe look weak in front of Moscow. Scholz joined them, briefcase in hand. The Belgian press is already calling it a financial mutiny. Investors are nervous. Von der Leyen's phone vibrated. A message from Washington. We're watching closely. Don't let Putin win a psychological victory. She sighed. As if pressure from one side wasn't enough. The door burst open. De Croo entered, expression unreadable. Before this begins again, he said, you should know something. Russia's central bank filed a warning through intermediaries. If we proceed with this loan, they'll mirror freeze all European private assets in their territory. Macron's voice dropped. They're bluffing. Ducreux threw a folder on the table. Are they? Read it. Names, companies, estimated value. 80 billion euros, Scholz whispered. Scheisse. Von der Leyen looked at him. You leaked this to the press? Of course not, Ducreux replied, but someone will soon. Across the room, Orban smiled faintly. The storm has arrived. Ursula leaned forward. We can't afford paralysis. If we retreat now, Moscow learns the price of division is zero. Ducreux. And if we advance blindly, we hand them our economies. The door opened again. An aide ran in, breathless. Madame President, Zelensky is calling. Live feed, the screen lit up. The Ukrainian leader's eyes were dark, voice restrained but sharp. In my country, we don't have the luxury of fear, he said. Every missile that hits our cities is paid for with hesitation from this room. No one spoke. He continued, softer now. Belgium fears losing money. I fear losing my nation, Ducreux clenched his fists. Don't turn this into guilt, President Zelensky. We've sent aid, weapons, support. Not enough, Zelensky snapped. Europe's heart beats slower each month. Soon it may stop. The connection cut abruptly. For a long moment, the only sound was the ticking of the wall clock. Macron exhaled. He's right, you know, Scholz. And yet we can't sign without legal ground. Von der Leyen stood. Then we make the ground. If law is the obstacle, we'll change the law. Ducreux. That's not democracy. That's desperation. Her tone hardened. History won't remember our caution, Alexander. Only our courage, or our failure outside. Cameras flashed as rumors swirled. Emergency vote imminent. Belgium isolated. Russia preparing sanctions. In Moscow, a meeting was already underway. An aide entered a dimly lit room. Madam, the Europeans are fracturing. Belgium stands alone. The woman at the head of the table, pale, composed, smiled. Exactly as we calculated. Push another statement through our channels. Hint that gas flows may tighten if the assets move back in Brussels. A journalist cornered Ducreux in the hallway. Prime Minister, is it true Russia warned you personally? He didn't answer. The cameras kept rolling. Silence became confirmation. By evening, the leaders returned for one last session. The draft text on the table now read, the European Union commits to exploring all mechanisms for future financial assistance to Ukraine. No numbers, no loan, no timeline. Ursula stared at it, jaw tight. This is surrender. Macron folded his arms. This is politics. Scholz. It's survival. She looked up at them both. Then, Europe has changed. Somewhere, church bells rang over the city, echoing through the rain. Zelensky's message appeared on her phone one last time. History doesn't forgive hesitation. She locked the screen without replying. Outside, lightning flashed over the Parliament dome. Reporters called it a night of indecision. But in truth, something deeper had broken. Trust. And as midnight fell on Brussels, a single question lingered across the continent. If Europe can't use its frozen gold to defend freedom, what exactly is left unfrozen?